I love our tractor, but I gotta tell you, there's some stuff about it that just plain sucks. What's going on, everybody? Jack here at the Mindful Homestead. Today we are going to talk about a few things that we don't like about our tractor. We did a video a couple months back now, I'll link it up here in the corner, going over our tractor, giving it a pretty good review and talking about what we liked about the thing and some of the things we don't like. Today, I'm gonna boil that down just a little bit, and we're gonna do one video where we talk about 5 things that we hate about the tractor. First though, I'm gonna head out into the garden and we're gonna see what's ready for harvesting. We've been trying to let the peas go. We really like eating them as kind of, call them snow peas, like the really thin ones that you can throw in a stir fry. But we also really like eating them as actual peas and harvesting the peas from inside. So I've been trying to let them go. So I'm only really harvesting big ones right now. The cucumbers that you see over here behind me have been doing extremely well. This is probably the earliest we've harvested from our cucumbers. I've already taken off probably 4 or 5 good-sized cucumbers over the course of the last week or so, and we've got a bunch more on there, so they're definitely doing well, and interested in seeing how they perform for the rest of the summer once things get really hot. Kale beets and broccoli rabe behind me are all looking pretty good. Those beets are gonna be ready to come out of the ground soon. Tomato plants are rocking. These are either the Black Krim or the Mr. Stripey. We forgot which ones we planted. We mixed them up a little bit. We have our first little tomatoes growing on them though, so we're excited for that. But that's not why we're filming this video today. We're here to talk about this thing. So let's get it pulled out into a spot in the yard where we can take a look at it, and we're gonna go over the 5 things that we hate about our Kubota BX tractor. So I do want to preface this video by saying that we love the tractor, and had we to go through the whole buying process over again, we wouldn't have done anything differently. That said, as much as we like this tractor, there are a few things on here that we think Kubota either overlooked or maybe should change going into the future iteration of this tractor. And let's just get right into them. First things first, we need to talk about this folding ROPS. Now, when we first got the tractor, we were really excited to see that it would come with the folding ROPS and we could get this thing in and out of the garage relatively easily. That is until it comes to the actual use of the folding ROPS. Now, it's relatively easy to pull the pins and get the pin out on this side and get the pin out over here, and then fold the ROPS down. Really straightforward, easy to do. Here's the problem. When you fold the ROPS back up and push it all the way forward, the pins are not necessarily easy to line up. This side may go in really easily, but on this side it's not lined up. What this leads to us doing is essentially running the tractor with the ROPS up, but only one pin in. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily a big deal. If the tractor went over, I'm confident, based on the nut and bolt that are holding everything together, that this ROPS would stay up and it would perform just as needed. But on paper, we're not operating this tractor as we're supposed to. We're running it with only one pin in on the ROPS to hold it up. I think if a little bit more attention had been paid to the precision of the holes that they were drilling, it would have been no problem. The real issue I have with it is that if I want to fold the ROPS up and put both pins in, it does require a mallet, usually a dead blow hammer, to get that other pin in on the other side. So just one gripe I have with it. The next issue I have with the tractor is the design of the throttle. In another video in the past, I've talked about this before. There are 2 jam nuts on the bottom of this throttle, and those 2 jam nuts are what control the tension on this throttle lever and whether it's down or up. And over time, invariably, unless you put Loctite on there or an acorn nut or some other form to keep that there, the tension on the throttle is going to wear down, and if you set the throttle high, it's going to just turn down like that. Not the end of the world, very easily fixed, but something that, you know, for a $25,000 tractor, you would expect Kubota would have had this figured out and had a better design there. So definitely something we're not too psyched about. While we're over here on this side of the tractor, let's talk a little bit about the connection for the third function on the tractor. Now, it's electrical connection, and we had the third function installed when we bought the tractor in anticipation of eventually buying a grapple or something where, you know, you would require that third function. It's a factory part, and you would expect Kubota to do a great job on this. However, the electrical connection that they use is pretty awful, and you can see this piece is just hanging out right here. It consists of 2 connectors on the loader itself, and then 2 connectors, one's right here, and then this is the other one. And guys, I don't know of a better way to put this, but it's just garbage. The fact that, you know, if it's not connected, you have this piece just kind of laying around and flopping around. When it is connected, like you see here, there's still pieces that can get caught on stuff. It's a very thin gauge wire. It's really just out of a tractor that you spend this much money on. You expect it to be way better, way more well put together, and this is something I would say is a no-go in the future. If I was to buy one of these tractors, I would not get the factory third function kit, and I would go with a third-party function kit. Just something to think about if you're looking at a Kubota. The switch that they use on it located over here is also pretty janky. At some point, the top of it fell off and is gone entirely. I may replace it, I may not, but in order to operate it now, you have to take your finger and stick it way down in. The other problem there is that it collects a lot of water, and it is an electrical component, so that's no good. Let's talk a little bit about the factory cutting edge as well. Right here you can see I have the Piranha tooth bar mounted on this thing, and the Piranha tooth bar is awesome. We have a review of it, which I'll link up in the corner. The problem I have with the factory cutting edge is not that it's not good at digging. It's great for back dragging. It's nice and flat all the way across. It's limited by how heavy the tractor is in its digging scope. But the issue that I have with the factory cutting edge is the attachment method to the tractor, and that being these 7 nuts and bolts that go across the front of it. They stick up into the bucket of the tractor, and while I can't say definitively if they have a negative impact on digging, it's something that gets caught up pretty easily. If I'm trying to shimmy a large rock into the bucket or a tree root or something like that, I have had these catch on stuff before. So from Kubota, maybe I'd like to see a better way to attach this, whether it's tabs like are welded on this Piranha bar, or if it's simply just a way to recess these things somehow and come up with a design where they're not in the way so much, because they definitely protrude up and they make the bucket not as effective. Now I'm gonna get a little nitpicky here for this last one, and my last gripe with the tractor is the placement of the fuel fill, or I guess I could go the other way and say the placement of this grab handle. The fuel fill on this tractor is in a pretty standard place. It's right up on the fender here. Very easily accessible in most cases. But here in the United States, we're forced to use these pretty terrible gas cans that come with these approved, simple, ventless, gasless, I don't know what the deal is with them, but they have these spouts on them. If you're trying to use a US government approved gas can to fill your tractor with a short little spout, that handle is right in the way of where you'd really want it. Ideally, I'd like to come through, put it there, and tip it up. However, I can't do that because of the handle. If I come up and over the top, I'm limited to right there, and by then gas is already coming out of this thing and it's going everywhere when you're trying to tip it up and in. Most of the time what I end up doing is coming in from the back here, and you can get it, but it's a little bit awkward. You got to hold it kind of under your left hand and use your right hand to pull this back. Really, it's just a bad design. This handle doesn't need to be right here. It could be further forward, it could be further back, and in either of those places it would give you much better access to the fuel fill. So those are the 5 biggest problems that I have with the Kubota tractor, and the things that I've kind of found are most annoying to me while I'm using it. Now I'm going to throw a bonus in here. This is not something that's happened to us personally, so I didn't want to include it in the 5 things that bother me about our tractor. And that bonus item going on the list is the terrible placement of the hydraulic cooling fan. Now underneath the tractor, there's a hydraulic cooling fan, and I have the mower deck on our tractor right now, so it's not necessarily accessible, but I'll put some pictures in the video of people that have shredded their hydraulic fan and kind of show you where the placement is at on it. It's in a perfect location where if you're driving your tractor through the woods and you end up driving over a stick that gets rammed up into that area, it shreds the hydraulic fan to pieces. Literally all the blades will come right off. It's a plastic fan, which was kind of a poor choice, but whatever, I get it. You need to cut costs somewhere. However, if the placement of that fan and the material that they used wasn't the worst of it, it's the design to access that fan. If you need to replace that fan, you're talking 5, 6, 7 hours to get in there and get the tractor apart enough where you can actually get a new fan on there. The fan is a single piece design, so you have to actually pull the shaft out, slide the fan onto the shaft, and then reassemble everything. I can see a 2-piece fan utilizing some sort of shaft collar being a much better way to design this, but I can't necessarily say anything because I'm not a tractor designer, so I don't know what the stipulations were. I've heard there is talk out there of an aftermarket company coming up with an easier replacement should you destroy your fan. There are pretty simple ways around it. You can leave your mower deck on, you can buy any of the number of skid plates out on the market that are aftermarket for your tractor, and that will keep that fan much safer than if you weren't running it. However, I'm kind of the mindset that such a simple thing shouldn't have been overlooked on Kubota's part. So that's it right there, folks. There's 5 things plus 1 bonus that I hate about my Kubota BX tractor. If you're thinking of buying a Kubota BX, don't let this get to you. There's a whole lot of positives about it, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I wouldn't trade this tractor for the world right now, except for maybe a bigger one. I'll put a link to the review we did of this tractor in the end screen of this video. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. We're happy to answer anything you might want to know more about. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.